This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories. The parents of the kids begin to question the droids on what has happened. The droids explain that the kids have left on a ship that illegally exited the planet's atmosphere. The parents beg for help, but the droids say there is nothing they can do. Farah requests a meeting with a supervisor, but Wendell just sits down in defeat, knowing there is nothing he could do to get help from the droids. Back at the pirate base, the stranger goes and leads them out of the prison cell using the key he floated to himself. He uses the Force to go and distract the guards, and with that, the rest of the kids are able to make it to him. Once they do, and they begin to question him, he tells them his name is Joden Nawwood, and they begin to question why he hasn't escaped yet and used the Force to get the key before, and he simply answers that he wasn't able to do it because he didn't have a ship to escape on, and since they do, he saw this as a perfect time to escape. Judd leads them through the base and leads them to a junction. He tells them that one way there's nobody, and the other way it is completely crowded. When the kids say that they should go the way that's completely empty, he points out that it's going to be easier for them to hide in a crowd than in an empty corridor, so the kids decide to follow him, and they are eventually able to make it to one of the bubble pods, and they are able to make it onto their ship. When there, Judd begins to prepare the ship for takeoff, but the kids say that they have to go back for SM-33, and Judd initially refuses. But eventually, after the kids begin to plead more and more and say they're going to go back to the base themselves, he points out that they'll be captured and says that he will go and retrieve their droid. What he didn't tell the kids is that he used to be the pirates' Captain Silvo, and because of that, he's able to easily sneak through the base and make it to the droid maintenance bay. There he goes and begins to activate different droids to see if they are the correct one. One of them is a B1 battle droid who quickly asks if they won the war before quickly falling apart. Becoming more and more annoyed, he eventually makes it to SM-33. Turning him on, he's able to figure out who he is after he sees the small creature that the kids told him about that lives in his eye. Shutting the droid down again, he goes and prepares to move him, but one of his former crew members walks in on him and begins to question what he's doing and why he was let out of his cell. Jad tries to go and deflect these questions the best he can, but the crew member is still suspicious. Back on the ship, the kids begin to discuss if they think that Jad is an actual Jedi, and while Wim is fully willing to believe, and Neil just thinks it'd be cool, the girls have more doubts and are beginning to question if he actually would be a Jedi. Making it back to the ship, Jad says they need to get away quickly and powers up the ship to fly out. A slight problem is that the ship is still attached to the fuel line and he has to find a way to break it. As he begins to pull, it is seeming hopeless until he uses it to wrap around other things and prepares for the jump to lightspeed. Brutus orders for the turrets to fire upon the ship. Meanwhile, Jad continues to try and evade the pirates and moves the ship into a position where it could jump to lightspeed. The turret locks onto the ship, and as it fires, Jad manages to make the jump, sending the cable flying back, crashing into the base. It destroys portions of it, and Brutus orders for his bounty to be placed upon Silvo's head. Jad goes and begins to cook food as the kids go to reactivate SM-33 and assure to him that Jad is a friend, and Wim points out that he is a Jedi. SM-33 takes this with an extreme amount of suspicion, and after that, he begins to question them about Attin, but decides not to go and push them too hard for now. Jod leaves, telling the kids that there's plenty of food for them, and heads off to explore more of the ship. Finding one of the dead crew members that Wim found earlier, he goes and takes the blade that was pinning him to the console for himself. He then begins to ask SM-33 if the kids are actually from Attin, but SM-33 says that he's never heard of it. Jod tries to intimidate SM-33, but the droid goes to his full height to show that he is not intimidated by him at all. The kids go and begin to discuss once again if they can actually go and trust Jod, and Wim, still thinking he's a Jedi, says that they should. But when Jod comes in, they all quickly go and hide their credits since they realize that they are very valuable, and the kids then are told by Jod that he believes he has a way for them to find their homeworld and for the dog to go to bed, and they'll be there soon. KB, having her visor down, tries to spy on Jod and pass it off that she's sleeping. Jod quickly sees through this and begins to talk to her. She says that she thinks that he's a fraud and isn't actually a Jedi. He uses his abilities to go and shut off the lights and uses that to be able to convince her, at least for now, to put her fears to rest. Landing at the location of Jod's contact, he lands further away, explaining that he doesn't trust her and thinks that she will probably stab them in the back. When the kid takes this a little too literal, he explains not literally, and he wants to land the ship further out just as a precaution. As he approaches, the security cameras that she has set up captures him, and she is able to go and see that it is him and thinks that he has kidnapped these children, so she goes and contacts the New Republic to send in people to assist her and save the kids from the person she knows as Crimson Jack. When he reaches the door, Jod goes and begins to talk to her. He tries to convince her to let him in, and she does, and Jod thinks that he does, but did it by convincing her, currently not knowing that she is setting up a trap for him to be able to be captured by the New Republic. They are introduced to Jod's contact, and her name is Kim. She is then very interested to learn they are from Attin and pulls out information about the planet. She explains to them that Attin was one of the jewels of the Old Republic and that, for an unknown reason, it was hidden away from the rest of the galaxy by the Republic, and they do not know where the planet is. With this, the kids are very confused, and as they begin to tell her more and more information about the planet, she notices some odd things, including that they are not up to date on current galactic events, and that they do not know that the planet of Alderaan has been destroyed, or know anything about the wars that recently engulfed the galaxy. She is then able to take information that the kids have about their homeworld to go and narrow down its location, including that it is seemingly inside of a nebula, which she realizes explains why no one was able to find it, since people wouldn't be flying into nebulas. And once she's able to narrow down its location, Jod begins to get suspicious, realizing she is stalling for time. He turns on one of her comm units and realizes that the New Republic is coming. He begins to fight her and she knocks him down quickly. Going to the kids, she tells them that they cannot trust him and that she has called for assistance for them. Jod goes and steals the data and tells the kids to follow him and he'll be able to get them home. The kids reluctantly follow, but before KB makes it out, Kim goes up to her and tells her to contact her anytime and she'll be able to help them. Making it back to the ship, the kids decide that now is the perfect time to confront Jod. As the X-Wings become closer and closer, and SM-33 gets upon the cargo ramp and activates his battle mode just in case Jod tries anything. Jed is forced to tell them that he is not actually a Jedi, which basically everyone besides Wim has figured out by this point. And then he is forced to agree for him to work for them if he wants to get out of there. So he does agree, and as the New Republic X-Wings get closer and closer, he goes and sets the kids up to learn a little bit about the ship so they can go and get out of there as quickly as possible. He sets up Neil to pilot, KB to work on the hyperspace jump, and finally for Fern and Wim to go and use the blaster turrets to try and scare the X-Wings off. Obviously, the kids are not able to hit them since their aim isn't the best. But as they do that, Jod returns to the cockpit and takes over flying from Neil. He puts the ship into a straight path away from the planet to escape its gravity well and is able to successfully make the jump to hyperspace. Kim goes up to the X-Wing pilots after they land and asks why they weren't able to go and capture the ship. The pilot mentions that they weren't able to because they didn't want to injure the kids and that they will be able to find them eventually and will be looking out for them. The kids make it out of hyperspace and believe that they have returned home. While Wim is disappointed, the rest of the kids are excited to have finally returned home and be able to return to their lives. As they pilot down, SM-33 is confused as the ship is being taken over by the autopilot function that is installed on this planet to guide all ships into land. He is able to go and override it and goes to land the ship himself. When they land, they go out and see that this doesn't seem like it is their home and everything has been destroyed here. Not sure if this is actually their home. They want to go and investigate. They order for SM-33 to watch over Jode, and he activates his babysitting procedure. Meanwhile, the kids go around and quickly realize that this cannot be their home because the damage there is far too extensive and there's a lot of signs that this has happened generations ago, including trees growing inside of buildings that is something that would not be possible to have happened to their home recently. Back on the ship, Jod begins to go through the kids' stuff and finds the Old Republic credits and tries to verify their authenticity. Realizing they are real, SM-33 comes up behind him and grabs him. Having a memory loss of who Jode is, Jode goes and explains it to him once again quickly. SM-33 lets him down, and Jod says he is going to see about fixing SM-33's memory problem to see if he can remember anything about Attin. The kids continue to investigate around and are eventually confronted by an unknown girl and her companions. They begin to ask what flag they fly, and the kids are confused by this. After she realizes that they are from Off-World and are not from her enemy clan, she reveals her name as Hana and tells them to quickly hide because there are people that are going to cause them problems and could put their lives in danger coming. After hiding from them successfully, Hana goes and leads them to her clan's base so they can go and be protected, but also have the possibility of joining them. The kids quickly realize that this base is at one of the schools. Entering into there, they meet with General Strix, who is Hana's father, and he says that there's a place where they could learn of their homeworld's location, but it is a dangerous place, and that they need to prove themselves worthy first. So he goes and tells his daughter to go and train them to see if they are ready. And meanwhile, at the ship, Jod goes out with SM-33 and the rifles of them. The Haitans go and ambush them. Back at the school, the kids go and try their best at the blasters and other weapons that they have there. All of them besides Neil, who doesn't really like violence, and Hannah sees this and she decides to go and take him to show him more of the location and everything that's going on with them. Taking him up, she shows him the just different things about their life. They both get food, and while Neil is a little hungry, he notices that there are kids that are starving. He goes and gives his food to them, and he notices that he's really kind and decides to show him why they set up at the school and shows him that there is a very large defense turret that is set up in there so they can go and protect themselves. Hannah then begins to talk to Neil about his own home, and Neil tells her how things are completely different and it is a completely safe place and there really is no danger there. He doesn't really understand how they could live like this, and Hannah is telling about he seems soft, but she starts to empathize with him and begins to think about what life could be like if it wasn't in a place like this. The two return downstairs and catch up with the others. Wim decides to show off some of the stuff he learned, but is quickly knocked back by the powerful blast of the blaster he decides to use. Then General Strix comes up to them and tells them that they are to lead their forces in a raid to go and get their Eopies back. The kids really don't want to, but realize that there is no way out of this. Now stuck at the front of the formation, the kids are all terrified. As the group hides behind cover, they are told that they have to go scout out the enemy camp on their own. And while they are all terrified, Hannah decides to go with them to be there for support for her new friends, and her father agrees. The kids go forward and eventually find that Jod and SM-33 are waiting there, and once there, they are told that they went and purchased all the Eopies back from the Haytons so they could resolve things peacefully. The kids are relieved, and the Torque begin to celebrate. Soon, Strix goes up to Jod and asks how to repay him, and he just says to give the kids to him. He agrees, and then he agrees for his daughter to go and take them to the tower so they can go and learn where their homeworld is. Hina leads them to the tower, and the kids have a final conversation and say goodbye, but she says she will not follow them there. As the rest get ready to leave, she and Neil have a final conversation, and Neil offers for her to come with them. She says no, and this is her home planet, and that perhaps when she is old enough to lead, she will remember the kindness that Neil had and try to lead with that. As his friends urge him to come on, she goes up to him and kisses him goodbye, and she returns home as Neil goes with his friends into the tower. After managing to reactivate the turbo lift, they go up to the top of what is on their world, the Supervisor's Tower, and up there they begin to investigate around. They learn that they are on the planet of Attin, and begin to look around at the coordinates for all the other planets until they are eventually able to find Attin, but see that the coordinates have been destroyed. SM-33 says that this happened the last time he was here, and the kids begin to question him and learn that the last time he was here was with his previous captain, and they were ordered to be destroyed. They begin to question him about it, but he says that his memory is restricted by captain's orders. And the kids all feel defeated. KB goes to try to reprogram him to tell them, and Fern goes off on her own and begins to have a breakdown, feeling the weight of leadership on her and realizing this is all for nothing and she won't be able to go and get home. Lim goes to comfort her and is eventually able to talk to her and talk her down. She eventually gets what she realizes she needs from him and figures out that SM-33 is only a droid and has to follow the captain's orders, and since she is the new captain, she can order him to tell them. So she does just that, and SM-33 begins to explain that he used to work for Tack Renaud, who Jad is able to identify as an extraordinarily famous pirate who went missing searching for the treasure of Attin. He then begins to explain that they discovered the coordinates were at Attin here, and SM-33 was ordered to not reveal its location to anyone, and the captain had all crew who saw the coordinates killed. He then explains that he was told to tear anyone limb from limb that tried to get the coordinates out of him. As he continuously says limb from limb, he goes and stands up to his full height and begins to attack the kids. The kids try to defend him off but aren't able to do anything. Neil's able to build up his courage and throws a rock at him to distract him. And the distraction is able to give Jad the opportunity to run in and power off SM-33. After the droid collapses on him, the kids all thank Neil, who quickly passes out from the excitement. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.